Hello and welcome.
Boston Architectural College, AutoCAD 1 2D drafting, and in this video we're going to start setting up our layout sheets, our paper space layouts with a border, which we should have made by this point using blocks and attributes. And so let's go to the first layout tab here, and this is one of the default layouts that come shipped with AutoCAD and just is there for every AutoCAD drawing. First thing we want to do is get rid of the viewport that is already present. We don't need that. We're going to create our own. Then let's right click on the layout tab and go to Page Setup Manager. And I'm going to click on New. And I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call this PDF 24 by 18. That's the size sheet that we will be using. And then click OK. And now back into the plot setup or page setup manager. And one of the things we want to do is make sure we're looking at the AutoCAD PDF general documentation print driver. And then for paper size, let's go and find the 24 by 18. And that will be under this ARC C 24 by 18. And we'll select that as our paper size. We'll do the expanded one. And then we'll just make sure that our plot table is set up, our color plot table, and we'll make sure that display plot styles is turned on. Now we'll click on that and hit set current so it applies it to our layout, and go close. And now we're looking at a page that is 24 by 18. I'm going to change my active layer to the sheet border layer. And then I'm going to insert the block that we made, which is the sheet border. And I'm going to type in the insertion point as 0, 0. Enter, and then it immediately pops up and asks us to fill in the information for the attributes. But I'm just going to say OK. All right, that doesn't look quite right on our screen. The border is not fitting the page correctly, and I think what we did is we actually chose the wrong page size for this particular setup. So let's go back to our Page Setup Manager, click on the PDF 24 by 18, go to Modify, and let's change the size. And if we scroll all the way up to the top of this extensive list, we'll find these things that say full bleed, and that's what we want. So we're going to find the ARC C 24 by 18 full bleed, which means we can print right to the edge of the paper, and it's warning us that this is being used, and that's okay. We say yes, and now we see that the border that we created fits this sheet nicely. It's the line that defines the edge is a little bit in from the edge of the paper, and that's great. So now we can double click on the block, the sheet border block, and we can start filling in, editing the information in the attributes. So this is going to be sheet A1, and I'm calling this building project, say, the Art House Renovations. And then the project title 2 is going to be the final project for this semester. So let's say semester final project. Hit apply on that. And the drawing title will be take out the plans and put in existing conditions, because these are the existing conditions of our project before we start our renovations. Hit apply on that, and the class will change that to be AutoCAD 1 2D. Drafting to be specific. Hit apply on that, and then the name and student, and I'm going to leave Joe student on this one, but you certainly should fill in your name, and I'm going to change the date that's there to spring 2016. apply, and then OK. And if we zoom in on that, we see that all that information is now added to our sheet border just by editing those attributes. Okay, let's do a zoom all, Z enter A, and let's rename our layout tab, and I'm going to call this A1 exist conditions, or A1 exists, I guess is good enough. That way it's a very clear indication of what tab that is. And I'm going to say move or copy. So I'm going to select the create a copy, and you'll see that A1 exists. Another tab is created with a 2 after it. Let's rename that, and let's call that A2 proposed, or P-R-O-P plans. So this will be the sheet that we show our proposed floor plans on. So now we can double click on that border on the A2 layout tab, and we can modify edit the attribute values here. We can change existing conditions to proposed floor plans, and apply, and OK. We still didn't change the number, so let's go back and take care of that. Let's double click on that. We need to change that to an A2 and go OK. Alright, so there's our layout set up with a border for A2, or proposed plans. So let's go back to the first tab, the A1 existing, for our existing conditions, and I'm going to change my active layer to def points, because anything drawn on def points will not plot, and we're going to use the def points layer to create our viewports. So this means that the viewport will not plot the edge of it anyway. So type in MV enter, click and drag to draw a viewport, and once that's created, you'll see the full extents of our drawing through the window. Double click in that window, and then I'm just going to zoom in visually to my existing floor plan, and then I'm going to go back into paper space, click the viewport, and then come over and set the viewport scale. And I'm going to set my scale for my drawings at 3/16 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And once I do that, notice that the view inside the viewport shifts a little bit. That's because AutoCAD is doing the zooming for us automatically, so that the view in that viewport is at that scale. And I just need to drag the edges of the viewport just so that it's not encroaching on some of the drawing that I want to show. But I can also shrink it up a little bit if the viewport's kind of too big. And then also I can move the viewport just like any object to kind of locate it where I want it on the page. Okay, so let's create another viewport, MV enter. And I'm going to turn my, make sure my midpoint snap is on here, because I'm going to snap to the midpoint of my existing viewport. Click as my first point, drag up to the right, and then click. And then again, we see the full view. Double click. I'm in paper, so I had to double click in that viewport, and now it says I'm in model because I've opened the viewport into model space. And now just do a visual zoom into my front existing elevation, and then go down and click on the scale and change that scale to 3/16. And again, you'll see the zoom level change accordingly, so that we're now looking at the drawing at 3/16 scale. And I can pan that a little bit inside the viewport, double clicking to open the viewport, and then just do a pan so that I can get all the information I want available to be displayed in that viewport. And now another viewport, so MV enter, and I'm going to click here and drag down and to the right and click. And then again, everything is shown. Double click in the viewport, do a visual zoom, just place my cursor over my other elevation and scroll in. Get it approximately where I want it, and then go down to the scale setting and set my viewport scale also to 3/16. And again, you see the view in that viewport adjust accordingly, so that now we're seeing that view at 3/16 inch scale. Okay, so there we have our views of our existing conditions. Now what I want to do is go and make my ANO text layer active, and I'm going to insert some of the other blocks that we've created to create titles for these various drawings. And I'll go up to my blocks and my insert button there, my insert pull down. It opens up, it shows all the blocks I have defined in this drawing. So there's my ID detail tag. I'll click on that. And I'm just going to place it, we'll have to adjust it anyway, so I'll just pick a place right here, click. It comes up and asks, says the detail is A, and I'm going to change it to 1, and then click OK. Then go back up to the insert and the ID title and bring that in, and this should snap. Oops, I clicked a little too soon. So let me cancel out of that, and I'll just erase that and try it again. Okay, so now make sure I get to the center of my detail tag. Okay, click, and then the attribute dialog comes up, and I'm going to change the scale to 3/16 inch equals 1 foot dash 0 inches. And the title will be existing or exist floor plan. And then go OK. And we see that inserted in our drawing with the appropriate information. It's got the scale, the title of the drawing. And I'm just going to move it a little bit, start the move command, drag a crossing window across that whole thing, click, and then just pull it over so it centers a little better underneath my drawing, and maybe move it a little closer too. Don't forget that those lines that are the viewport lines will not print when we actually do the plot, so putting it right on the line is really not going to cause any problems for us. So now I'm just going to copy that, which I just inserted, and put it over underneath my existing front elevation, and right down underneath my existing side elevation. And then hit enter to complete the copy command, get out of it. Now let's zoom into our front elevation, double click on the tag, and let's change that to A. And then let's double click on the title. And the scale is going to be the same, so that's fine, but we're going to change the name to existing front ELEV, E-L-E-V for elevation. Go OK, and that's now the title there. And the same down here. We'll change that to a B on the tag, and then the title bar will be existing side elevation, or side, E-L-E-V. And then OK. So there is our titles in place. Now I just need to put some other annotation in here that calls out what we're looking at and where to find that information. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit because I realize I need some more room in order to place the elevation tag in the front here. So let's go up to our insert, bring that down, and if we scroll through our list here, we should see that we have our detail reference tags. Let's click on that and bring it in and place it right in front and in the middle of our front elevation. Click, and it comes up, and the sheet number is A1, but the front is going to be detail number A. And then we can bring in the little arrowhead block that we've created. Click on that, and that should just snap right to the center of that circle or to the midpoint of the horizontal line. And there it is, calling out the front elevation. You can find that information at detail A on sheet A1. And now if we just copy that and bring it up over to the side, place it there. It's a little tight, so we'll have to do some adjusting here. So I think what I'll do is do a move, and let's grab the viewport and my first detail block and the title and just pull it over a little bit. And again, remember these lines that are the borders of the viewports don't print. So I'm just going to pull that in just to keep it neat, keep it clear as to what ends where. Now I'm just going to zoom in on this detail reference tag, double click it, and this is going to be detail B on sheet A1. And now I just need to rotate the arrowhead so that it's pointing towards the side elevation. So click that, rotate, click on the center, and then it's negative 9, oops, it should be 90, not 9, so let's do an undo. Rotate, select the object, click the center point, and it's a negative 90. And click enter, and there it is. Now we do a zoom all, we see our full sheet, and we see all the information that we've placed on there, our titles, our references. Let's do a save. We've done a lot of work. Make sure we don't lose any of that. Now let's right click on our layout tab and hit the plot choice, and then let's do a preview and let's take a look at what we've got going. And it looks pretty good. I see maybe a couple things that I would change. So let's, but it's okay. I'm going to say plot. It comes up, and I've got my folder of BAC and a 2016 final project, and it's going to generate the PDF, and then it will open up in my PDF viewer. Let me go and do a full page view. And there we have it, our existing conditions page, all the drawing that we've done with our existing elevations and our floor plan. Okay, so that's got that done. Let's take a look at our proposed plans. Let's go to that tab, the A2 proposed plans. Let's change our active layer again to the def points. We're going to make some more viewports. And then once that is set, type in MV for model view. I'm just going to click somewhere over here on the left and drag up about halfway across my drawing sheet. Click and then double click in the viewport to activate it, and then just scroll to zoom in on my proposed first floor plan, kind of center it in that view. Then change the scale to the 3/16, and we see the view change. So now that floor plan is being displayed, and I can pan it a little bit to make sure it fits appropriately in the viewport. Now let's click and go back to paper. And then once in paper space, I'm going to do a copy, and I'm going to grab that viewport I just made and copy it over towards the right, and then click. And once I do, it's an exact copy. It brings up the same floor plan, and you'll notice that it's in color here, but if I put in a regen, or actually a regen all, R-E-G-E-N-A-L-L, and enter, there, then it displays it as black line work. Okay, so now I'm going to double click in that viewport, open up the model space, and I'm going to do a zoom dynamic. And what zoom dynamic does, you'll see it creates this little box, this little window, which is the same scale as the first window that we started in. And I'm just going to hover that scale over the second floor plan and then click enter. I didn't use any clicking with my mouse. I just used my mouse to move that window. And I'm going to do a little pan here again just to center that a little better in the viewport. Let's go back into paper space. Now I'm just looking at how our sheet is laying out, and I'm thinking maybe our first floor plan over on the left there needs to move over, so I'm going to click start move and then click and drag that over a little bit, and then bring in change our layer, our active layer, to the ANO text, and now go to the insert and bring in our drawing title blocks. So where did that go? There it is, our detail ID tags. Click on that. Let's bring it in. I can put it right over the viewport. It doesn't really matter. Click, and I'll say that this is actually detail 1 or drawing 1 on this page. And then go back up, bring in the title bar. And this time hopefully I can snap to the center of that circle. It looks like I didn't again, so just do an undo and get rid of that. And let's try it again and bring that in. Okay, now snap there and change the scale to 3/16 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And then the title, the detail name, will be proposed, or PROP, first FLR plan, first floor plan, and then go OK. So let's take a second to look at that, and that looks okay. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then I will copy that entire couple of blocks and copy it right over to my second floor plan, kind of centered underneath. Click, and then double click again to edit the detail tag, and that is going to be number 2, detail number 2. Okay, double click on the title bar, and the scale is fine, but now this is the second floor plan, so 2ND I'll fill in here and go OK. And things are looking pretty good. And the next thing I want to do is bring in those reference tags to call out the elevations. And there it is, our ID detail reference. And bring that in and place it in the front of the first floor plan. Typically these references to elevations are placed on the first floor plan of any building. And it's going to be on sheet A3 is where our elevation is going to be, and I'll say that the front is going to be A on A3. So now we also need to copy that over. And we can come back and do the arrowheads, but let me just place it where I want it. Hit enter, double click. This will be detail B on sheet A3. And so now we will need to bring in the arrowhead. So let's zoom in a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. Let's go back up into our insert, our blocks, click on the arrowhead, and then click and snap to the middle of that circle or to the midpoint of that horizontal line. And let's pan over to our other reference detail mark, bring in our arrowhead, and let's type in R for rotate, and it's going to be -90. And now we can snap that also to the center of the circle or the midpoint of that horizontal line. And there we have it. So let's zoom out, take a whole look at the sheet. And I think I want to move this whole thing over a little bit to the right, give a little clearance to that reference tag over there on the far left. And I'm going to pull both those titles down a little bit, both at the same time by selecting both of them. And let's pull that reference tag on the front down a little bit, give that a little more space, a little breathing room so it's clearly read on the plan. Okay, so that's our setup. Let's go to the plot. Let's right click on our tab, go to plot, go to preview, and let's take a look, and it looks pretty good. I can see one issue over there on the left where our reference tag at the elevation is pressing up against the sheet border. So I'm going to exit out of that and not continue with the plot and cancel the plot, and then move that detail reference tag over to the right a little bit to get it off of that sheet border. And let's do a save. We haven't saved in a while. Now let's right click on our tab, go to plot, go to preview, and that does look much better. So let's hit plot. Proceeds. It's going right to the same folder I had last time for my final project. And again, let's take a look at the fit the page, and there we have it. Again, the viewport borders are not showing up because they're on def points, and everything looks good. So that's it for this video, and thanks for watching. We'll do some more in the upcoming videos on layouts.